You have my
Anyway,
permission to fill me, John.
yeah, thank you. Oh, okay, great. All right. So can you still see my screen, or did it shut off?
It went away. I just see
It
your
went away.
handsome
Okay.
face.
So let me share it again. I know you're lying. Instead of me called me handsome. Okay, so we're going to go back to these other NACE codes. So we got the teleproduction, that one, and then 511224. So we're going to pull that one in as well. Hey, there's Mr. Rob.
Hey guys, sorry, drinking from a fire hose over here.
All good.
No
I was
worries,
just
bro.
telling Matt, hey, Rob, just so you're aware, I don't want to get sued, but you're being recorded.
Yeah, I heard.
All right. So anyway, I was walking Matt through kind of the NACE codes, right? And I'm really glad to see you guys are registered in SAM. That's a really big first barrier to achieve or to hurdle over. So I was telling him you can get an idea from searching usaspending.gov and all the different NACE codes, right? So first we had like 6,600 in that first one, the 512110. I pulled some of the other ones in there and, got another 2,000 or so contracts. That's too many to really look for, right? Let's look for like the last couple of years. And while you want to look for the last couple of years, is there could be some subcontracting opportunities, right? So if a large business wins a contract, more likely than not, they're going to be obligated to outsource like 23% to small businesses, 5% to veteran-owned businesses, and 3% to veteran or service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. So guess what? You guys would check 3 of those boxes, right? And I don't know about where your address was, but it could be in a hub zone. So you could use that as well to your advantage, because that's another exclusive like socioeconomic class of which the government is obligated to steer money to through the large contractors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so let's do this search again. Okay, so we got about 1,500 in the last few years. And let's see if there's any in North Carolina. Right, but this website's fantastic for kind of whatever you fancy and kind of markets you're kind of looking at for active work, right? So I look at companies that are just kind of starting off. Look for large businesses and leverage your skills, right? Your core capabilities. You guys are rock stars in the social media, the marketing, the video production, etc. Leverage that, with hey, you have this contract XYZ that runs out here. We're looking for small business subcontracting opportunities. And by the way, we're a hub zone, veteran, service disabled, veteran owned small business, right? So you check like 3 of those boxes. So, and again, they're obligated to give you guys contracts. If they don't, there's some bad penalties to that. And actually the SBA just recently tightened the screws or created more regulations that make it more costly for those companies that are not doing it, right? So we're going to look at just like North Carolina, see if there's anything like local we could look at, because you just never know, right? Like Fort Bragg, Lejeune, they may have some stuff here. Okay, so there's 20 different contracts. Have you heard of any of these people? Carol Rivies, JC Technology, Colonial Systems. Looks like a lot of mom and pop. Windrock Productions. Let's just do this. I'm going to send this in the chat so you guys can peruse. But what I like to do is kind of snoop in on those companies, figure out like who their owners are. In SAM, since they're all in SAM.gov, just like your record at SignalFire, like I can, glean a lot of information from the companies that already have it, right? I don't think if any of these are small, you don't want to target them for subcontracting because they're likely going to go tell you to F off, right? They don't, they want to keep what they earn, right. And they're not obligated to do it. All right, so getting back to SAM.gov now. So you're absolutely right. It's very daunting. You guys have passed the first test. You're in SAM.gov, so you're eligible. So I would go back to the search button, and it's important to really kind of specify it very deeply. Because again, you're going to get a shitload of noise if you don't, So I like to be as specific as possible. I go to the contract opportunities, right? That's stuff that, they're looking, that are opportunities that are out there right now. The government is willing to spend money. They have a defined requirement. And then we want to go into a couple different things. The most important thing to understand is the phase of the contract, right? So the first thing that needs to happen, you need to have a general or somebody who's got a budget, right? Who's like, hey, the soldiers need some R&R. We want to, do an event for them that's fun, right? So they're going to have a statement of requirement, right? And so what they're going to do is they're going to send that over to the procurement folks, right? And the procurement folks are going to be like, okay, well, let's get some market research, right? So the market research phase is critically important to understand, and also to respond to those things that are looking good, that are in your swim lane, right? So the pre-award, I'll call that all pre-award, right? The market research phase, it's in this sources sought, and it's in this pre-solicitation, right? So these two things are key to getting in front of those procurement people. Now, the one thing that's important is the procurement people have all the authority, but none of the influence, right? The colonels and whoever else in the commands will have the money and are the ones that define the requirements, but the procurement people run the deal, right? So it's kind of, you kind of really have two customers if you're a government contractor. You have the compliance ones, and that's kind of where I grew up. I grew up with, in my career, dealing with the government contracting officers and specialists, the procurement people. I always did well when I had a really good technical counterpart, regardless of what it was. So, because they're greasing the skids with the end customers, right? The soldiers and the command, leadership and all that stuff. So getting back to SAM.gov, break it down into sources sought and pre-solicitation, right? Then what we're going to do, because all right, I do this right now. I get 27. Let me search. I get 27,000 results. That's way too much for a freaking human to, digest and really analyze. So what I like to do is go to this product service information. Then you can further drill down into what exactly you're looking for, right? So we're going to add in those NAICS codes. I got it on my other screen here. Let me pivot real quick. 2.0. Okay, let's see what we get. Okay, we got 4 results. Okay, not a lot, but let's add those other ones too. Because the other interesting thing is that the government likes to classify everything. Okay, we get 2 more when we add this one, and I'm just adding ones from your SAM.gov registration, right? I don't believe there's a limit to that SAM.gov registration, and nor do I believe, like, if you bid on something else in a different NAICS code, you can make it work, right? As long as they want to award it to you. So what is important to do is, cast kind of a big net, I think, and kind of triangulate, right? One of the things that I like to do is, again, go back to the federal spending, USA spending. Let's just reset this search, right? And you guys are good at social media, right? Would you say you could do work for the government in a social media base?
Yeah.
Okay. So so I like to just look at the keyword social media. And see what other shit shows up, right? Other NAICS codes. So I would go to, do my search, hit the search. It's only searching for social media, nothing else. If I go to these so one of the, again, this site I could spend hours on. I've done tutorials on, but it tells you where the money's being spent within that keyword. It's all sorts of, data nerd shit I can get into. I won't bore you with that right now. But go to categories and then go to industry code. So, you can look at the agencies buying, right? You can look at who's getting the money. And you can look at, a couple different things, but the one that we want to look for right now is this NAICS code. So here's some other NAICS codes that are showing up under social media, right? So I would recommend kind of expanding the aperture a little bit because we only got 6 different opportunities. That you want a big funnel, right? You want to look at probably, 20 or so again, because you ought to be doing this at least weekly. Some people do this daily. You know what I mean? They look for things that, they want to respond to in that pre-award phase. So it's important to respond to things that you're capable of doing. Because again, if you respond successfully and you build that relationship with the contracts, the procurement people, they can either be your best friends or your worst enemy, right? They can steer work toward you, or they can shut you out of deals, right? They're like, hey, we're going to go with a woman-owned small business, and then you're fucked, right? So again, you keep, but build those relationships up. Don't bid on shit you can't do, right? But if you see things that you can do, but you need some help, don't be afraid to partner with people, right? Find other companies that you can leverage that can do the other things that are being asked of you. So let me back up a little bit. So I'm going to add these other NAICS codes here. All right. And then the other interesting thing is this PSC code. I'm going to just drill down that as well. So the interesting thing is, do you guys know what a NAICS code is?
I mean, I know it's a code that gets assigned from the government, right?
Yeah. So the government, they've had this in place since like the 20s, right? 1920, so 100 years old, effectively. It's basically the industry, right? So the SBA uses those NAICS codes to determine what makes and what does not make a small business small. Let me get into something real quick because I want to open that in a new window. I want to re-pull your go back to this. It's been a while since I've looked detail at one. Hey, look at that. So you're getting probably lots of spam, Matt, aren't you?
I mean, I get a lot of stuff from sam.gov that says, hey, there's unawarded contracts, there's unawarded contracts, there's unawarded contracts.
Yeah. There's a lot of companies that prey on companies that just are registered in SAM. So just be wary of that. Don't pay for shit without talking.
Yeah. No. And I've been able to identify what's authentic and what's not, and I've just been blocking them as I can.
I've had people that spent, a couple hundreds of dollars, for this crap. But anywho, so you can drill down, again, so let's look at some of these. Any of these look Virginia contracting demand. This is DIA, communications transformations. Let's just see what this is. So, and you can download all those opportunities, right? So each one of these, it's got the same kind of, look and feel, but the attachments is where really the details are. It'll tell you like how they want you to respond. So it's good to look at as many of these that looks comfortable, but then look at what they're requiring.
Right.
So media services supporting agency, producing, editing video, operation support. So there's a draft statement of work. So this sounds like something you could feasibly do, right?
Right.
Wait, do you need okay. So a lot of, it doesn't require a GSA schedule, but it looks like they may want somebody that has a GSA schedule.
What does that mean exactly?
I kind of think
established.
Yeah, it's more of companies at a next level will get a GSA contract. I think there are a lot of shit, honestly. Like, I've had companies that had GSA schedules and then fought to keep them. So they spent thousands of dollars on these things and never really market them. It really depends on, again, that USA spending. Look at those codes, and if they're buying a lot of shit from GSA with end clients that are in the military or something like that, then it probably would behoove you to go and get a GSA schedule because it's a lot of time investment, and a lot of people spend money on consultants to do that. But this isn't a requirement here. I'm just trying to walk you kind of through the process.
Right.
So, and then you would look at the draft statement of work. Well, let's go back to this again real quick. So they want you to respond to the SOW. How is it relevant? Okay, so a lot of these, dude, like the government wants you to do their homework for them, right? And so this looks like one of those ones. Yeah, okay. So you must have a top secret clearance. You don't have that right now, right?
No.
So throw it out. Let's look at the next one. So it's kind of one of those things where you just, if something looked multimedia AV technician, okay, you can probably hire somebody. But this is old. So SAM.gov sometimes, will say things are active and they're freaking not. So this is
Right.
from 2019. Boo. Any of these are going to be worth a shit? 2018, all this shit's old. All right. So I pulled like some other NACE codes we can use, right? Let's see what this shit is. Let's just add in this shit. Again, the government agencies, right? They're all very federated in a sense that every one of them operates to like the tune of a different drum.
Yeah.
So one agency may use, one particular NACE code way more often than not. So again, like social media, you would think would fall into like one or two buckets, and it obviously is falling into multiple ones. Like administrative management, okay, that's really freaking broad, right? But if that's a part of it, and again, you may be looking at a contract that's not specifically for, social media. It may just have a small component of it.
Right.
So,
so read the details with everything.
Yeah, exactly. And if you find something that you like, right, and you can also like specify like Fort Bragg or, Lejeune, you can get as specific as you want to, right? So it's really a strategic game where you're looking at these things constantly. The best part is, Matt, you can save this. I can save it as, search 1, search 2. Like I have, let me look at my saved searches. I have like shitloads of these, right? For like whatever I was doing at whatever particular time. This one is the North Carolina current opportunity. So any opportunity, regardless of NACE code, within North Carolina, in again that pre-market phase, or I'm sorry, pre-award phase, market research, RFI, request for information, sources sought, and pre-solicitations. So there's a lot of now. There's plenty of companies. I actually made an investment with MyGovTrax, like $27 a month. My buddy Lakin, he's an Air Force guy, and I told him his product is so freaking cheap. But again, I pay. I don't really like paying for stuff that I can do myself, but this saves me shitloads of time, and so I can more quickly utilize this. So let's look at just North Carolina, right? Keep it kind of close to home. So tell me, out of these sounds good to you. Can you read okay?
Yeah.
Information. I mean, I don't know. That's pretty, and we can drill it down another different way. So it's like maybe technical services.
Yeah. I'd choose that as one of them for sure.
And then we can go, it's like I can only do one at a time on this product. Okay, electronic communication equipment. That's kind of, they're looking
professional service. There's professional services.
Okay, so let's just do that. There's only 3. This one's old. Hey, look at this one. There's something in Wilmington. Oh, this one in Fort Bragg. Special analysis. Okay. This needs buried. Let's look at this one in Fort Bragg. Oh, I hate it that it does that. Hold on a second. So request for information. So may necessarily not know what they want. They're looking for industry feedback, right? So they're saying, this is what we need. This is our requirement. I want to know from the industry, what can y'all do, right?
Right.
This is for the Army Reserve, Force.com. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the hell this shit is. I mean, but so in a lot of these requests for information, since they don't know what they want, if you can tell them a compelling story or their, you give them their capability statement and they're like, oh, you meet the requirement and you're, one of these buckets here, that's a huge advantage to you, right? Then they may only compete it in that space. So the government can, steer a contract however they want to, right? You got to remember, one of the things that that's one of their tenets is the to promote competition as much as possible. So they're always looking for at least 2 bidders, right? So if they get a lot of response from these RFIs, they may, open it up. If they're only getting like 1 or 2 responses, they want probably like 5 to 7, ideally, right? If they're not getting any responses repeatedly, then they're going to probably sole source it, which means, hey, Signifier, you're going to get a sole source contract, which is a great space to be in. That means your capability is so unique that no one else will. You have no competitors, basically. That's what the government is admitting when they give you a sole source contract. A lot of times that's bullshit because there's not enough time for planning. They didn't expand their aperture enough. They weren't creative with their market research, all that shit. So yeah. So I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, it's a long game. Think strategically. Other people in this space, like I had I've been kind of sending out these opportunities. I'm in the Chamber of Commerce, so I'm like reaching out to people who are in certain industries. And I sent one a week or so ago about HR support, and it was like something that I thought somebody that I met could do. And she didn't respond to me, and I was like, okay, whatever. Well, 2 days ago, I get a response from a lady who that person forwarded it to in Wilmington. And so she's responding to it, and she's like, holy shit, this is right in my alley. I can do this work. I'm like, awesome. Like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Again, it just takes time. The government buys fucking everything you can think of, and you just kind of got to be on the ball when they are advertising these needs and these requirements, right? And by doing that, I would highly recommend, setting up a search within a lot of NACE codes, again, that it's demonstrated they're buying this shit in, right?
Right.
And then it's, I would also leverage these PSC codes because the NACE code is the industry, right? So SBA will say, okay, you're a large business if you're like $10 million a year, or they may quantify it a different way, a different metric, such as employee size. So the SBA controls the size standards of small businesses and large businesses within a NACE code. The government uses the NACE code for categories, but then they further specify it at a more detailed level, the micro level, in a product and service. So again, I would kind of triangulate, like going back to USA Spending, using the keywords, right? Stuff that you guys do, and probably, want to limit it to the last 3 or 4 years, right? Because the way these cycles work, the government wants, since it's such an investment of time for them to award proper contracts, they set these things up for like 3 to 5 years, right? And I can look at any contract I find in here, and I can tell you when it ends. And so if you know about the life cycle and, the timelines, you will know that, like, depending on the complexity of the work, they may have to rewind that clock 18 months, right? And some of the kind of the less sophisticated work, it may be only like 3 to 6 month timeline. But that's the one thing that really sucks about government procurement, is that it just takes a long freaking time, right? There's some anomalies out there where, you know, I can bid on a contract and win something next week, but that's a very rare exception, right? But again, it's a game. You know, this is kind of how it's played. And I firmly believe that if you build the right habits and, you know, interpret the signals in a way that, you know, best puts your company forward, then you will get government contracts, you know, given enough time. And again, it's about, you know, kind of that big funnel. Like if you're doing shit in SAM and you're getting thousands of opportunities, then you need to limit it. If you're only getting like a handful, then you need to expand it, right? And so, but SAM.gov, if you know how to use it, and specifically the contract opportunities, you know, I can look at Fort Bragg. I can delineate however I want to. I can triangulate whatever kind of stuff I'm doing. So again, if I break this out, I mean, there's, you know, hundreds of thousands of opportunities in the pre-award. I think there was 27,000. So again, the government buys absolutely anything you can think of. They spend, you know, hundreds of $billions a year. And you know, so I appreciate the time to help educate you guys, and, you know, want to kind of open it up for questions that you have.
Dude, thank you, man. First of all, very, very informative. And I think this is going to definitely help me be able to navigate this more efficiently. As far as when you're submitting interest or applying for a particular contract, does it look different every time as far as what they're requesting, how they're requesting it?
Yes and no, right? Yes, from agency to agency. So there's a hierarchy, right? You got the DoD, then you got the Navy or the Army. Or you guys are Marines, right? So the Marines is under the Navy, I believe, like organizationally. So I don't believe the Marines have their own contracting command, but the Navy certainly.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
And
so any opportunity originating from the offices. So the offices are really the low end client, right? They're your actual customers, but they fall into, so the network contract office 8, like that would be the contracting officer's command, right? So anything originating out of a command is probably going to be the same. It's going to have the same look and feel. So as you get smarter and start looking at opportunities that you like, I would highly advise you looking at those offices, right? Especially if you can develop a good rapport, and then see what else is out there, right? Because again, if you build relationships with those customers, you know, and they start liking you, you can start helping, you know, your friend's business that does something else, right? You know, there's just a lot of opportunities that you can exploit by, you know, just being a good broker and, you know, doing what you say and saying what you do.
right.
But every agency is going to be different. Every office is probably going to be different as well.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Is there anything taboo about us reaching out directly to certain stakeholders? Like, because anywhere we can find an email address, I mean, is that ethical to reach out? Like, what? Because to me, I'm like, hey, I'd show up at their office with, you know.
I would recommend you guys on LinkedIn follow a guy named Guy Timberlake. He created a class called like ethical stalking for government contractors. And I haven't been through the class because I don't think I need it, but I believe he's a good dude, and he knows his shit. And so yeah, no, there's no problem at all. But again, you got to think about it from their perspective, right? And don't spam them with shit. I always viewed it as, you know, I always work with sales guys, right? Who did proposals and development. And I was like, let me handle the comms with the procurement people, because I can speak their language. I know what a J&A is. I know what an SS is. That's a sources sought, right? They have all these acronyms that I know how to speak to those folks. And those folks have the shittiest jobs in the government, honestly. So they're generally not the happiest, pleasantest of people, because they're getting bombarded with shit. People want to sell them crap that they're not really needing. So think about it in a smart manner, but no, because all those emails are out there, right? The numbers. But again, if they're responding, if they're asking to send you shit, then absolutely, right? And then ask questions ahead of time. Say, hey, every one of these will have, hey, Heidi, I'm interested in this and that. I had a question about the response here, right? Just find an angle to kind of get in and develop, a communication. Maybe it's a stupid ass question, but like, hey, this seems ambiguous here. How would you recommend I do this, right? And they will likely respond to you, but again, in this phase.
Right.
So once it gets out of this phase, so going back to sam.gov, once it gets out of that pre-solicitation and request for information phase, it's a lot more harder, a lot more challenging to get a hold of these people. So once it's in this solicitation phase, they are not allowed really to converse with specific offerers.
Right.
The reason being is that someone may protest because, hey, Heidi is in love with Matt and has given him information that all the other bidders, and it's not fair. Right. So they have to, operate by, proprietary rules, by, I don't know, but, they have to act, they're the stewards of government money, honestly, and they could go to jail if they're committing fraud. So they're interesting types of folks, right? It's like the 1102 series and the GS. That's kind of, I think some enlisted and officers can, have that title within the government. But again, no, there's no problem at all. I mean, you have the emails, email away. But again, I would just, caution.
Common sense for professional. Yeah.
But they honestly, they love it when you're talking to them about that stuff because it makes their job easier. Right.
Right. Exactly. Because that would be how I approached it. Like, hey, I want to make this as easy for you on your end. What do you think about this?
Yep. That's the right approach.
Yeah.
Again, leverage it, like not leverage, your small business veteran-owned status. Leverage it. Hey, we're rock stars at this and that. We can, how it relates to their problem, right? And again, the procurement people who are the points of contact on here, they're not going to know that, right? Because they're just doing the requirements, but they're going to send that email, right, to the funding people. The colonels and whoever else has the money, it's that define the requirement, right? So again, it's kind of a multi-pronged approach is the way I describe it oftentimes. Excuse me.
Dude, honestly, this is a ton of information, and I have a lot of just digging in to do on my own, just so I can start really understanding the framework for the websites, but also the process. But dude, I really appreciate you taking time to talk with us.
Fun. I enjoy doing it, and I'd love to get on your podcast. You guys haven't done much these days. What's going on? You taking the reins to Jody and Morgan?
Growing pains on the business side, and it's really sucked up every bit of resources that we would typically want to invest back into our podcast. But
it's all good. Help you guys with?
I mean, this for sure. Our biggest struggle right now is refining our processes on the pre and post-production side, and just continuing to try to select the right people for our team.
What are you looking for? Are you guys looking for people now, or you just?
We're always open to people in the video production and editing side, people that can edit audio and video, but also people that can produce it as well. They're just a bunch of weirdos. It's just like that industry is just a bunch of weirdos that live in their own world.
I met a gal that her name's Allie Weaver. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Yeah, is she here in Wilmington?
She's here in Wilmington.
Yeah. Is she the one that does the was she one of the girls that was on was it Tim's podcast or Lisa Lay's podcast?
I don't know either of them. I don't know Lisa's podcast. I'll have to check it out. I'm not sure.
Dude, it's actually really good, despite it being about HR.
Lisa who? What's the podcast called?
It's called HR Nightmares.
I like it. I don't know, but she seemed like a very smart. She's got a young kid. I met her and her husband. She says she does like video editing, so I don't know. Might be worth a shot.
Yeah. Is she on LinkedIn?
Yeah, she is.
I'm not spelling it right, I don't think. How does she spell Allie? Oh, hold on. She got tagged in a
I think I might have tagged her once. Allie, I believe. Weaver?
yeah.
No, that's
Yeah, Allie Weaver photography.com and then Allie Weaver. Oh, she actually has her own website, allieweaver.com.
I'm not finding her for some reason, but no, anyway, I can't. Oh, there she is. Fuck. Computer's all wacky. Yeah, so I'll be on the lookout. I don't, that's something I need help in too. I need help like making videos, and I'm starting to learn how to make videos, which is pretty embarrassing. But it takes me like an hour and a half.
John, I'm sorry, dude. Just 1 second. I can't. Oh no, I can't get her. Sorry. All right, I'm back. I'm sorry. Yeah, I did meet her. We met her. Rob and I met her at the Biz Expo last fall. That's where I met her. She had a killer personality, and it was funny because she stood out. I was like, "Oh, you do videography?" Because you seem like you kind of have your act together.
Well, right. You said a lot of shadesters. So
what?
You said a lot of shadesters, I believe, that you've been encountering. So she did. A woman with a small child and a husband is not a shadester, but I don't know. Maybe they are. Anyway, she seemed like she was on the up and up. I thought I would, give her a shout out.
Yeah, dude, it's definitely a great idea. I appreciate you reminding me about her.
Yeah. Well,
John, what kind of videos do you need made, man?
I'm looking to, kind of shit that I see that you guys do a lot. I want to do like shit that we just did on sam.gov. Let me get off video. Well, we're just recording it right now. I don't know how to freaking edit and slice and dice. Like I'll do the same, like I was doing a video like a couple weeks ago. It took me like an hour and a half for 5 minutes, a 5 minute, thing. And that's probably normal, but I liked what I did, but then I didn't like what I said. Right. So if I could figure out a way to say it without doing it and then do it without saying it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then sync it up. Like, I think that would be a game changer for me. Cause again, I'm trying to just market like hell. I noticed there's a lot of guys on like Instagram and TikTok that are selling a lot of expensive courses for people who are trying to get in the GovCon space, and they don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And so I want to be able to kind of go, more quick hitting, 1 minute, 5 minutes in those other avenues. But right now, I'm just kind of focusing on LinkedIn because, those are my high paying clients and I want more of those. But I also think I can better productize my offerings, because there's a shitload of money these guys are making. And I believe that I can do a much better product, and cheaper. I'm not going to be cheaper, but again, I heard somebody paid like $8 grand, she said, and all 9 of the people that also paid that amount felt they got scammed. I'm like, damn, $70K for a week's worth of work.
Yep.
Yeah, and I can employ a team for that kind of money. But again, I got to get it out there, and I'm kind of bootstrapping myself. I quit my day job, like 4 months ago. So I'm just still, and the summer's been a little slower than I prefer, but ramping back up. So anyway, like I said, I'm happy to help you guys. Love your thoughts, expertise, and again, love to get just some exposure from you guys as well. Just like go on the podcast. Again, I'm just trying to do the what's that guy's name up north? The data marine guy.
Al Bellamy.
Yeah, the guy that was he the one that did the no? I think it's Rob Cordon, the 30-day LinkedIn challenge.
Oh, I don't know.
It's one of those guys. But anyway, so I've been trying to just kind of up my game in that space because I'm getting most of my clients from there.
Yeah, that's where your market is for sure.
From LinkedIn.
Yeah, on LinkedIn. But again,
Yeah.
I think I want to kind of pivot a little bit to the lower end of the spectrum, the TikToks, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, and set up a class of training I've
Yeah.
already done. You know what I mean?
Have you, do you already have kind of that, the curriculum already laid out and whatnot? You just need to start marketing it, or you
Yeah,
trying to do both?
I mean,
time?
I could probably put that together within a week, Rob. You know,
Right.
I had like a deadline because I have like bits and pieces of like white papers, and one of my things this week is trying to just get more organized because I'm fucking
Yep.
a mess. You know, I barely am keeping it together over here. You know, that's why I need to see you, Matt. But I forgot my train of thought.
Well, dude, yeah, I mean, all told, we want to return the favor for you helping us. So we'll get you some things that we could get you onto SignalFire. We're super backlogged with our own video editing, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but we can get you a piece of content from us. And then if you're already recording meetings and stuff like that, and the editing is a pain in the ass, we can certainly edit it for you and get it prepared for LinkedIn if that's where you want to market, and sort of help you grow into it with, you know, budget, being budget conscious on video editing and stuff like that. We can turn some stuff around for you so you've got content to be putting on LinkedIn until you grow into exactly, you know, all of the markets that you want to hit. We'd be more than happy to sit down. I think it's probably a face-to-face conversation, so we can definitely understand what you're trying to accomplish, who's your market, what's your message, all that other stuff. But we would love to try to see how we can partner together on a few things.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'd love that. You know, I think if rising tide lifts all boats, and you know, I've been appreciative of the stuff you guys bring, and you know, love SignalFire, all the things that you do. I'm really glad to see you on SAM.gov. How was that registration process, Matt? And when did you do it? How long did it take?
Well, I mean, I spent a couple hours here, a couple hours there, but I would say collectively probably, I mean, the most time consuming part was the fact that, I mean, Rob is the one that spearheaded registering us as an LLC and doing all of that with the state. So a lot of the time was just me trying to get all this like specific information from him, like our tax ID number and our EIN and all that stuff. Probably like 3-4 hours, I would say, altogether. But a lot of that was me just trying to figure it out.
That would be an amazing thing to record, right? The SAM.gov registration. So I was just talking to a gal down here, Catherine Daniel. She's an HR person. Seems to be doing really well. And she was the one I was telling you about that's going after this HR contract in Colorado. And she was telling me she's having a shitload of time with SAM.gov, and basically she didn't do something right. She put in a PO box as an address and is now trying to put it as an actual address. And so she's just like been, you know, on the phone with the help desk and, you know, for hours and not getting anywhere. It's just like, damn.
I don't know how, but somehow I identified that on the front end because I was getting ready to put a PO box number because that's what we had been. Well, that's what I'd been using with Rob. But I saw in the fine print, I was like, oh, it needs to be a physical address. So I was able to at least avoid that one.
Yeah. So again, it's but you know, I've never done that. I've never set up a new entity, but I've maintained them and I've renewed them. And so they expire every year. So, but again, I don't have that expertise because I don't really want to be a government contractor myself. I would, but I need a technical expert. I need, you know, some fucking rock stars to partner with in order to do that. Again, you know, I'm not going to be successful doing things myself anyway. I need, you know, a good team. So, yeah, happy to help you guys. I'm glad that you're guys on your journey. If I see anything that kind of I think would you know, be in your neck of the woods, I'll be certain to send it to you.
Heck yeah, man. We appreciate you a ton, bro. And
yeah, man. If you guys know any veterans, or, you know, I've been missing going to those BBCs, but there's been other, you know, intentional collisions I've been going through, and, you know, just trying to, like I said, get out there and, you know, meet all the entrepreneurs who are interested in federal government contracting. If you ever run into anybody, you know, and I may do just like a topic on veteran-owned set-asides. you know, look at that market, where it is, you know, if I can get like good specific targets, then I'm good. If I'm kind of talking broad, it's just like I go all over the place. See, like I'm looking at the cartwheel universe and this fucking other galaxy and like, oh my God, the world's so big, you know? So it's federal government procurement. You know, I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of fucking things to look at. And, you know,
Right.
so how do you distill it for like what you actually want to do?
Right.
So
John,
that's
I'll
perfect
shoot you-
for me. I don't know what I want to do. So I want to help companies make a lot of money and then I'll make money.
Right.
And, you know, I can help with whatever they're good at, I can help them do, you know? So that's kind of my thing.
John, I'm going to shoot you a text message right now that might be of interest to you. It's something that I got in the mail. So before we started BBC, we had partnered with the North Carolina Veterans Business Association. And I got a note from them on the 16th of August is their procurement summit. So it could be a good networking opportunity for you. So I just sent that. I think it's up in Raleigh. So I sent you the agenda and then kind of like the website with QR code to take a look at it. That might be something of interest to you where you can go up and learn some stuff and probably get some clients too out of it.
Cool. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, like I'm missing all these events. It took me a long while to get with the North Carolina Military Business Center. And then I found out the person I was trying to reach in Wilmington is retiring. And then the executive director, who's like in Fayetteville, advised that I apply for this job. Rob, I think you got tagged on somebody on that. Cape Fear is looking for like a business director.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So I actually ended up applying to it like as a part-time basis because I was like, shit, I'm going to do this anyway, you know. And it might be nice to have an office downtown, you know, with Cape Fear, and I can be a professor, you know. But again, you know, since I'm doing my own thing now, it's like, you know, my revenues are a roller coaster, and my revenues like pay my mortgage and my groceries. Right. So I need to, you know, diversify as much as I can, right? And create a floor, because the floor shouldn't be zero, and currently it is. Yeah. So.
Well, dude, thanks for your time, brother.
Yeah, man.
I'll be following you up with you the next couple of days after I can kind of dive through everything that you just shared with us.
Yeah, it sounds good. And Matty, if you're around today, I'd love to kind of see you. I got some money for.
I am, but I have calls, and then I'm meeting Rob at the studio to meet with our business partners. But I mean, let's link up in the next day at worst case.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm pretty free tomorrow, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it tomorrow.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I appreciate your time. You all have a fantastic day.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Yep.
All right. Bye-bye.